I wanted to talk today about people pleasing. So particular people-pleasing behaviors, what they are not. One of the things that I probably hear most from individuals is that if they're not a people pleaser, then that means they're going to be a mean person. That is not true. You cannot be a people pleaser and still be an incredibly kind person. So, no longer being a people pleaser doesn't mean that you're not going to be a nice person. It just means you're going to have boundaries. It means you're going to know your values. It means you're going to get your self-worth from yourself, self-worth. It means you're going to follow what you want to do as opposed to do the things that you believe others want to do for you, because oftentimes that's what people pleasers do. People are typically drawn to those who are authentic and genuine, right? Think about people that are in your lives that are genuine and authentic. You are usually drawn to those types of people, correct? So, being a people pleaser, you're not usually authentic and genuine the majority of your life, right? That doesn't mean that you're not genuine and authentic at times. It means that you're not that way all the time. So let me kind of explain a concept that I use with clients that kind of helps them to understand this. We all wear hats in our lives. You might wear a professional hat in your world, right? Whatever you do for a living, you take that off when you stop working, right? That's what I do in my life. I don't have that therapy hat on all the time. You might take and put a hat on when you're a parent, but you take that off because you're not always a parent. Well, everybody's always a parent, but you might take time off and go spend time with your friends, and you don't always have to be on as a parent, right? So that's what I mean by you take hats on and off in different aspects of our lives. Does that make sense? But that doesn't mean that the genuine and authentic part of us as humans doesn't still stay consistent. The problem with people pleasers is they change who they are depending on who they are with, because they're what we call hustle for their worthiness, right? They don't believe that they are good enough and feel like they need to be validated when they are around certain people. So they change who they are depending on who they are with. And that authentic version of themselves tends to go away. Some of the reasons that people pleasers just that, please others, is to avoid conflict. They have a significant desire to, they don't want any kind of conflict in any way, shape, or form, and so they will agree with anyone and anyone to avoid that at all costs. To be fair, nobody likes conflict, but that doesn't mean that you have to agree with everyone in order to avoid conflict, right? So if that's something that you might do, there's ways to learn how to have some constructive discussions without having conflict escalate. Another reason that individuals people please is that it's a learned role from childhood, right? There are roles that we gain from childhood that it's just something that you do, and so that might be something that you have learned how or learned to do, and you just never broke that habit because that's something that you've always done in your life. Sometimes when people pleasing happens, praise comes, and that reinforces that behavior. And so that can become problematic because who doesn't like praise, right? Oftentimes self-worth gets wrapped up in people-pleasing behaviors, and that can also become problematic as well. Again, self-worth comes from self, not external sources. So you have to be careful there. If you're seeking your self-worth from external sources, that's something that you might want to talk to somebody about, because our self-worth doesn't come from external sources. Sure, it gets enhanced by that, right? We get our confidence from lots of sources, but our self-worth is an intrinsic thing. It doesn't come from external sources. Another reason that individuals can people please is because that they haven't figured out their boundaries yet. Because of this, they tend to go along with what everyone else does or try to please others because they don't know what their own boundaries are. Indicators that you could potentially be a people pleaser is that you're trying to agree with everyone around you or most people around you, and you do so in order to be liked and to prove, I guess the term I would use would be your worthiness, right? Problem with this is numbered. One of the biggest ones that I can see is that you're going to go against your values and the things that you believe by doing those types of actions, right? Engaging in activities to be liked might go against the things that you actually believe in, and then think of how you're going to feel about yourself when those things actually go against what are really your values or what you believe or like. Does that make sense? So that can be a problematic, I guess, loop, I would call it. And it's also damaging to your self-worth when you go against those types of behaviors. Another indicator that you could be a people pleaser is you feel responsible for other people's feelings. As humans, we are all responsible for our own feelings. I'm responsible for my feelings, you're responsible for your feelings. Are all of our feelings enhanced, or yeah, that's the word I would use, enhanced by others? Sure, but you can't make me feel a certain way and I can't make you feel a certain way because you have choice and I have choice. So you feeling responsible for other people's feelings is a very good indicator that you could potentially be a people pleaser. Think about happiness. Happiness is an intrinsic aspect. Your responsibility, I guess I would call it, of being happy is an internal action. It is your responsibility to make yourself happy, not somebody else's. Again, going back to that, the item I said just a second ago is things around us, people around us, those enhance those items, but they don't come from those external sources. They just enhance that. Another indicator that you could potentially be a people pleaser is that you often apologize, like all the time. You say sorry for things that you don't need to say sorry for. If you're constantly doing that, that could be an indicator that you are feeling bad about yourself. You don't have worth for yourself. Typically, you self-blame, and because of the self-blame, you oftentimes will apologize for things that you don't have anything to apologize for. So if you find yourself oftentimes apologizing for things that you really don't need to apologize for, that could be an indicator that you are a people pleaser. It could be an indicator of something else, but nonetheless, it's an indicator that there could be something going on. Another sign that you could be a people pleaser is that you have an inability to say no. If you can't say no to anyone or any situation in life, that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the video is an inability to set boundaries, or you don't know your own boundaries. That's a pretty good sign that that there's something going on there, right? There's a problem within your boundaries that you cannot say no to an individual, right? This gets tricky if it's work related, because we all have work related issues that those can be struggles with. However, if you can find this in most areas of your life and your boundaries are really tricky for you, probably something that you could look at and examine. You can do that on your own, or you could do that with professional help. But if saying no is a problem, then that could be an indicator that people pleasing is an issue. Now let's talk about what some of the changes can be for the work that I do with people pleasing, because I do this work often with individuals, actually. I work with people who make changes in their lives pretty much every day. Some who've actually been engaged with these behaviors for years. Some of them have been engaged with their entire lives. The one thing that I want to let you know is that it doesn't matter how long you've been engaged in these behaviors, change is possible. I see it every single day because I do work with a lot of individuals that struggle with this. How do you make changes? I would say that the first step is awareness, right? We've talked about these different areas, these indicators that this could be present in your life. So that awareness, that's going to be a really key component in how you could potentially make changes. Boundaries is going to be a key component, right? We talked about that inability to say no. Well, boundaries is going to be how you do that, right? Knowing who you are at an authentic level, getting to understand who that is, that being you, figuring those things out, kind of some self-discovery. You understanding yourself at an authentic level will help you to be able to firm up your boundaries. You would be amazed at what happens with small changes in your life. It's like a ripple effect that tends to happen for people. It doesn't need to be like a 180 change overnight. It is small things that you can make in your life, little boundaries, starting to understand what you like and don't like, gaining a greater awareness of the things that you want different. That's where the biggest change is going to happen. So hopefully this is helpful in kind of tip of the iceberg, if you will, for what people pleasing is. I will say people pleasing is an incredibly complicated and complex topic. You know, just in talking about it for today's video, I will say, I don't want to say it was overwhelming, but it is a very complicated topic. I do this work every single day, and yet it is such a complex topic that it really is something that you'll need help with. If you notice these behaviors in your life, this is something that you'll want to reach out and get some help with. It doesn't mean you can't make change. It just is a very complicated topic and a very complicated situation, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't say that to take out hope, because again, I see change every single day with people who are working through this. I just want you to know that it is a very complicated thing, and you'll want to reach out for help if you happen to see these behaviors in your life. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I appreciate it, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.